This episode is brought to you by Greenskies Analytics, an audit analytics service provider that works with internal audit departments that have data analysts and are still frustrated with trying to make analytics actually work, aren't getting the expected ROI, who can't break through the communication barrier between the analysts and the audit team, and those that need experienced direction for an audit analytics strategy and process. Those that feel like they've wasted time and money on trainings, aren't getting the value they want, not prioritizing the highest risk areas for the organizations, or have projects that seemingly never get completed. Do you deal with any of that? If you do, go to the show notes of this episode and click the Greenskies Analytics link, or go to greenskiesanalytics.com to schedule a call and understand how Greenskies Analytics makes analytics actually work for internal audit.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Audit Podcast. Today on the show, we have kind of nobody as the guest. I guess technically we have Monica Royal. She's the founder and chief data enthusiast at Nerd Nourishment, where she helps professionals leverage data analytics to make their lives easier. She's a data career coach, audit analytics and AI consultant. She's a LinkedIn learning instructor and host of the data podcast for nerds. So she has a lot going on. And so what I meant by it's Monica, but it's also not even really Monica at all. So in October, we hosted the Audit Analytics and AI conference. So we got a lot of our audit analytics and AI peers to come on and do a conference for everyone. So 2 days straight, I think we had like 19, 20 different speakers. And so Monica attended, and through her awesomeness, she wrote this extremely well written and detailed article on LinkedIn called Audit Analytics and AI Conference 2024. So it's basically some of her takeaways and what she got from the conference, etc. During the conference, we also had Brian McNally, who's over the audit analytics group at Macy's, and he kind of demoed this tool called Notebook LM, where you can take articles such as the one that Monica wrote, you can upload it to this tool, and it turns it into a podcast for you. So anyway, we were inspired by what Brian showed us, and then we took Monica's article, and with Monica's permission, of course, we ran it through Notebook LM and turned it into a podcast. So that's what you're gonna hear, is this podcast that is completely AI generated based on this article, which we've linked in the show notes from Monica's LinkedIn. For Spotify users, you're probably familiar with this Notebook LM. So if you're on Spotify, I know they did this last year. I don't know if they've done it prior years, but they basically take all of your data from what you listen to, songs you listen to, podcasts you listen to, etc. And then they basically present it to you and go, this is the number one song you listen to in January. This is the number one band you listen to throughout the year, whatever the case is. And so what they did also was they took that, Spotify did, and then they basically pulled it into Notebook LM. So now there is an AI wrapped podcast, if you're a Spotify user, that you can go into and you can listen to a podcast created by Notebook LM about your, call it, listening habits from the prior year. That just came out, I think, 2 or 3 days ago. So again, Spotify users, you're probably familiar with this. If you're not a Spotify user, this might be your first experience. Know this, we uploaded the article, hands off, we did nothing else with it. And then now what you're about to hear is the outcome. And so if you are a avid podcast listener, when you see a white paper or something like that, and you're like, I just don't have time to read that, but I could pull it into Notebook LM, turn it into a podcast, and then listen to it in the car or wherever you listen to your podcast, then this might be a really good resource for you. So that's it. Here we go.
So you ready to dive into this audit analytics and AI thing?
Always up for a good deep dive, especially with the notes we've got.
Right. Monica K. Royal. Talk about an insider perspective.
Seriously, the woman is everywhere, teaching, podcasting. If it's data, she's there.
Exactly. And she brought back some, well, kind of shocking stuff from that 2024 conference.
Like what? Don't leave me hanging.
Over half LF of internal audit teams, no increase in resources. Can you believe that?
You're kidding. With all the risks and regulations constantly evolving?
Nope. And that's the thing, right? They're expected to do more with less.
Which is where tech comes in, I'm guessing.
Mm.
Makes those audit management systems sound pretty essential.
You think Monica's notes actually said a lot of auditors still not using them.
Hold on. Those systems have been around forever, haven't they? What's the deal there?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Like, we have these incredible tools, but getting people to use them.
Easier said than done, I suppose. Bridging that gap between what tech can do and what's actually happening. That seemed to be a big theme at the conference.
Big time. And speaking of game changers, Monica was all about the AI and machine learning stuff.
Which, by the way, she very clearly points out machine learning, part of AI, just instantly makes you sound smarter.
Right. Like, oh yeah, I know the difference. But it wasn't all theory. She was highlighting actual tools auditors are using.
Spill the tea then. What's got Monica fired up?
Microsoft Copilot, have you heard of it?
Rings a bell. AI doing the heavy lifting. Right. Data analysis, flagging risks, even drafting reports.
Ding, ding, ding. But security. Always got to think about security with this stuff.
Especially when you're talking about the kind of sensitive data auditors work with. Yeah.
No kidding. Monica mentioned these super secure platforms, though. Like, the AI can only access what you allow. Some of them don't even retain data for retraining.
Smart. Builds trust that way. People need to know their confidential stuff is, well, confidential.
100%. And this is where it gets really interesting. She's calling it the rise of the citizen data scientist.
Okay, I like the sound of that. Explain.
It's not about being a statistics whiz. It's about being curious, willing to learn. The skills you already have, those are valuable.
Interesting. So it's less about being a tech expert, more about applying your existing skills in this new landscape.
Exactly. Now brace yourself, because Monica's about to take us down a slightly creepy path.
Oh, I do love a good plot twist. Hit me.
Data security and privacy. Her words, not mine. Auditors know where the skeletons are.
Okay, that's a little ominous, but I get it. They see it all.
And when you're talking AI and big data, that responsibility, it's huge.
No kidding. It's not just about financial risk anymore. It's reputations, people's private information.
Right. And here's a thought. Monica's a point, not just fancy tech solutions, but awareness. Even casual conversations can be a risk.
Seriously. Like loose lips sink ships, but for data.
Pretty much. That whole culture of security thing, it's got to be everywhere.
Makes you think twice about what you say around the water cooler, that's for sure.
But hey, let's not get too bogged down on the scary stuff. Monica's notes, there's some really cool stuff in there too. Data visualization, storytelling. She was geeking out about it.
Right. It's amazing what a difference it makes. I mean, anyone can look at a spreadsheet, but turning that data into something people connect with, that's an art.
Totally. And get this. She was raving about this interactive session led by Alicia Foxiska-Arnold. Apparently, she blew everyone away.
With data visualization, I'm guessing, it does seem to be a recurring theme.
You know it. But here's the kicker. There was this guy, Christopher Chen, not even an auditor.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. What field is he in?
Doesn't even matter, because he stole the show with his presentation. It was all about data storytelling, using AI tools, even ChatGPT.
Wow. You know, it just goes to show you, these skills, they're valuable everywhere.
Truth. Makes you think, where could you use a little data storytelling in your own life, right?
No, there's an idea. But it's not all about the tech, is it? Monica mentioned that too. It's so true. One quote that really stuck with me, it was from Karen Carlucci. She said, and I quote, "Innovation without adoption is absolutely pointless."
Ouch. That's kind of brutal, but she's not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point of having all these amazing tools if nobody's using them?
Exactly. And speaking of insightful quotes, I got to share one more. Shin Tu, he said, "Auditors know where the skeletons are."
Okay, that's both hilarious and terrifying. Like, I'm laughing, but also slightly concerned.
Right. And it's true. They have access to so much sensitive information.
No doubt. And with AI, big data, that responsibility, it's only getting bigger.
100%. Okay, last quote, I promise. This one's from Chris Reed, and it's a bit of a reality check. He said, "AI won't take your job, but people that know AI will."
Whoa. Okay, that's a powerful statement, like a call to action almost.
Right. Adapt or be left behind.
Exactly.
It's true, though. It can feel like every day there's some new tech, new trend. It's a lot. But going back to Monica's notes, it's not just about the tech itself, right? Right. It's about what you do with it. And honestly, that's what I loved about her take on all this data stuff. She gets it.
100%. Like that whole data storytelling thing, that really seemed to resonate with her.
Totally. And I can see why. It's one thing to have the data, the insights, but to actually make it come alive, tell a story with it, that's powerful.
It's like anyone can crunch numbers, but not everyone can make you feel something with them. Monica even said something like, a good data visualization, it's worth 1,000 spreadsheets. Something like that.
Yeah, she's got a point. And it's not just about pretty charts either, is it?
Nope. It's about making the complex understandable, engaging. Remember that Christopher Chen guy, the one who isn't even an auditor?
Oh, yeah, the data storytelling guru. What was it he used again?
ChatGPT, even. Like, who knew an AI could be so good at telling a story?
Seriously, it just shows you the possibilities, they're endless. Which actually, that makes me think, thinking about all this stuff. It's not just for auditors, is it?
No way. This whole data thing, it's everywhere.
Exactly. So what about you? Where do you see this playing out in your world? Any ideas?
Ooh, good question. Honestly, I think that's what makes these deep dives so valuable. Gets you thinking in new ways.
100%. Sometimes you just need that little spark, to see things from a different angle.
Totally. So as we wrap up here, any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Just that. Keep learning, keep exploring, and don't be afraid to get creative with data. You never know what you might discover.
Love it. And if you want to go even deeper, we'll have links to those conference recordings in the show notes.
Happy exploring, everyone.
Hey everyone, thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Audit Podcast. Whatever platform you're listening on right now, I'm sure there's a subscribe button somewhere, so please hit the subscribe button there. If you're listening through iTunes or Spotify, feel free to go give us that 5-star rating. It only took me about 16 seconds to give myself a 5-star review, and it really helps to get future guests to come on the show, so we'd really appreciate that. Lastly, be sure to check out the show notes and follow us on all our social media channels on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on TikTok. Also, if interested, please sign up for our weekly newsletter from the Audit Podcast. Thank you all. Have a great one.